regarding titanium tubed main steam surface condensers. He's authored more than 60 technical papers and participated in seminars, symposia, and publications to professional societies and audiences around the world. Mr. Schumerth is a fellow of the ASME and a current and/or past member of the ASTM, the HEI, the Heat Exchanger Institute, the ITA, and NACE. Please welcome Mr. Schumerth.
Thank you, Nate. It's really difficult to follow that previous presentation and talk to you, this wonderful audience, about treated sewage effluent. What a comparison and what a shock between ceramics and treated sewage effluent. Should be fun. Winston Churchill, one of my very favorites, many years ago, noted one time that a good speech can be measured by the length of a lady's dress. It's short enough to be interesting, but long enough to cover the subject. So I hope the subject matter will be interesting to you this afternoon. In 2005, I did a couple of papers and some research information on impaired water for industrial cooling of heat exchangers. And in that, we had a couple of case studies for titanium examples and so on. So that was in 2005. So here we are in 2019, we've got a few years under our belts. So I'd like to share some of those results with you, maybe this afternoon. This is my disclaimer. I want you to make sure that you check with your local experts. And the information is derived here from a lot of different sources, but I take no responsibility for any of it whatsoever. So you're on your own with this type of subject. You can read the definition yourself. It's pretty clear what TSE, or treated sewage effluent, is. It's the disgusting flow of everything that society has to offer into a collective area for processing. There are about 16,000 to 24,000 municipal treatment plants in this country, plus or minus. About 1,500 of those, or a very small percentage, employ some form of water reuse. Pretty small, pretty poor. There's more than 60,000 of these similar plants worldwide, and only about 6% of those use any kind of water reuse whatsoever. And that's really kind of sinful in a way, with all of that water that's there for some form of use. This picture is what's called a TSE host facility. Euphemistically, it is called a biological medium nutrient removal and enhancement facility. That's quite a name. You know who would have a lot of fun with that is Andy Rooney. In his 60 minutes ending the last 5 minutes, he would call it a sewage treatment plant. He wouldn't want to call it something this fancy. This is the host facility. This is a picture of the recipient facility that was done in the case study. It's complete with its own TSE facility on the lower right. It's complete with its own storage facility on the upper left, which is an enormous lake. And it's also complete with an evaporation pond that takes the deluge of society after it's all done at the plant and evaporates it into a solid. Isn't that a wonderful transformation? I kind of like it. This is the largest TSE plant in the world by far, and it has been for 33 years. The online date is 1986, and I visited that plant shortly after its inception and its transformation into titanium materials from the original yellow metals. The distance that the TSE is pumped from the host facility, which you saw, which takes out what is affectionately referred to as sinkers and floaters, and transfers it to this facility is 45 miles in a 96-inch pipe. And the sewage treatment plant there can process about 58 to 60 million gallons of sewage per day. And they need that to operate that facility. It's a very large facility. The storage reservoir that you see in the upper left is about 250 acres. There's 2 ponds. It's about 30 feet deep. So it's quite a large facility for capacitance in case something happens with the line, in case there's an interruption of service. That lake is large enough for sufficient capacitance to maintain that treatment plant. And the tower cycles at that facility are an unheard of. This is absolutely insane and unheard of. 25 cycles on that tower. Usually a cooling tower is, experts in here, 1 cycle, 1.5 or 2. This runs 25 cycles. By the time that is finished, you can literally take that as a solid and transport that to a landfill. The blowdown is so solid. All of the planned heat exchangers at this facility, all of the planned heat exchangers in this case study are CP grade 2 titanium. They have been there for 33 years. There has been 0 corrosion in any of the exchangers, and the only damage has been occasional mechanical damage where they've had some sparger design problems on some of the exchangers. They've had some choke flow conditions because of low operating temperature, which kind of washes the top of the titanium tube with high velocity steam, resulting in modest erosion. Other than that, which is mechanical damage, there has been 0 corrosion for that unit. Here's some samples of some other TSE units around the world. You see quite a mixture, if you can read the chart, of utilities, energy companies, cities. Florida Power and Light is a utility company. Delta Energies, there's refineries in there, United Arab Republic, and a number of different facilities, which the growing list of this usable water, once purified, is expanding dramatically. There's a nice Italian young man in the audience here, and he probably doesn't remember this man's name, but the director of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was a gentleman by the name of Sergio Leone, who popularized this movie. And the first one is Mr. Eastwood, and he's representing the good when it comes to TSE. So you can just walk around that a little bit and see the good things that Mr. Eastwood is promoting in terms of the positive returns of TSE. Lee Van Cleef also started the movie, and he's the bad. So he's got some bad things here associated with it. I won't go into all of the details for a little time constraint here, but primarily it's the disinfecting, the UV disinfection of the purified liquid to make sure that it is safe for human, if you will, interaction with it. Of course, the good, the bad. Who's going to be the ugly man? Eli Wallach. He starred as the hangman in that. I want to draw your attention to the ugly portion of this, which is the atypical impaired water analysis. In the yellow, it's led by fecal coliform. That's a 4-letter word. You do not want that in your water. That must be disinfected through whatever means that you have. The rest of that is oxygen and carbon demanding type of chemicals typically associated with fertilizer runoff. So that's a nasty one as well. The blue is benign, with the exception of the chlorides. The bottom one is every discharge from society imaginable, including radioactive isotopes, etc., etc., etc. But let me stress that in this water analysis, the most corrosive, the most injurious chemical in there is chlorides. Salt. It is the #1 corrosive agent for heat exchanger tubing. I mentioned to you that I wrote a couple of papers and did research in 2005. There's absolutely no irony to that whatsoever in this graphic, but you will see that this is trends in total water withdrawal by category. And it goes from, I can't read that too well, in the 1950s through 2006, memory recalls me. And on the left, you'll see the various types of water, public supply, irrigation, so on and so forth. Look at the dramatic drop in water consumption beginning in 2005. But I take no credit for that whatsoever, and the irony of my previous work has nothing to do with that. This also trend line shows the population increase, dramatic population increase in the world. Again, from the 1950s, I believe. You'll see the groundwater, so on and so forth on the left. And again, beginning in 2005,